And global summits have become the new norm, and these are platforms where representatives and world leaders from either developed or developing countries come together with a common agenda. These gatherings, similar to religious conventions, are believed to be powerhouses for multilateral decisions with resolutions adopted, agreements brokered to make each member state exceptional. Dashin Usman gives us more insight on these.
Global summits are gatherings where certain sensitive world issues are discussed. Member states are given opportunities to express their views on a scope of international issues, checks and balances carried out in order to forge new paths and approaches for more sustainable assistance in our ever so transient future. As membership of African countries rise through the years, questions abound as to what Africa really gains from these global summits. Surprisingly, most of the conferences this year focused on Africa, opportunities it presents, and how to make the continent better. At 78th United Nations General Assembly, African leaders unanimously took a stand, saying they must be partnered with and not sidelined.
We realize that underlying conditions and causes of economic challenges facing today's Africa are significantly different from those of post-war Europe. We are not asking for identical programs and actions. What we seek is an equal, firm commitment to partnership.
It is time to acknowledge openly that much of Europe and the United States have been built from the vast wealth harvested from the sweat, tears, blood, and horrors of the transatlantic slave trade and the centuries of colonial exploitation.
In developing countries, we also have a responsibility to be accountable for the quality of our financial governance and the management of our natural resources.
Considering Africa's vast mineral resources and strategic economic potentials, how key are these assemblies to Africa or even Nigeria?
To say whether it is fair to us in Africa is to assume that global diplomacy has something to do with universal truth or universal fairness. It isn't actually. Everybody who sits at either the UN Security Council or sits in any of the UN organizations or meetings actually there for personal interest, that they actually are just seeing how they can advance the tenets of their own country and make their country a little bit more powerful. So it's a bit difficult and a bit tricky to actually see how Africa actually benefits significantly, owing to the fact that Africa does not really hold a key stake in the UN General Assembly.
It's high time Africa needs to make its position known. Africa needs to let the world know the days of them show the side is over. We also have come of age, apart from pockets of issues that we have here and there. But it is important for the world to know that we have the brains to drive whatever project is being driven all over the world.
According to the UN's Agency for Trade and Development, in 2022 alone, Africa's total public debt reached $1.8 trillion, 40 times more than the 2022 budget of the continent's largest country, Nigeria. Meanwhile, despite Africa being a richly endowed region, at least half of its 54 countries are among the 30 least developed in the world. Looking at its vast resources, DR Congo alone has the world's largest reserves of cobalt and is also one of the largest producers of copper, which are both critical for clean energy transition.
We as Africa have come to the world not to ask for arms, charity, or handouts, but to work with the rest of the global community to give every human being in this world a decent chance of security and prosperity by taking necessary actions
it's high time that Africans begin to look inwards to see how we can actually solve our problems by ourselves. Europe achieved that with the European Union when they actually came together, and then they removed borders in Europe. You have a Schengen visa, you can travel to any part of Europe. So I think Africa needs to do something similar for itself. This is why I'm very interested in the AFCFTA, which is the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. If that agreement can actually be signed, then we can blur the lines of economic activities across Africa, and most of Africa's money can actually stay within Africa.
The significance of Africa cannot be overemphasized. Earlier in October, the quarterly IMF Global Financial Stability Report held in the continent. It was IMF's first meeting in Africa in 50 years, which provides assessment of the global financial system and markets.
If we have trade fragmenting and people just trading with each other in blocks of people similar to themselves, this fragmentation, we've done some work, Gita and the IMF has done some work that shows that the real losses to real GDP, global GDP in the long term are substantial.
Given the many demands that are going to be there in terms of spending on the African continent, I think it's very important to recognize that it's not going to be a problem that can be solved only through international money. Domestic resource mobilization is going to be a very important part of the solution.
It is safe to say that the state of play of Global Summit's expectations is enveloped in a veil of hope, uncertainty, and agitation, as they are perceived as opportunities to escalate the ambition needed to strengthen global cooperation, which is a path critical to facing today's crises. Darshan Usman, reporting for News Central TV.
As of September 30, 2023, data from the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NEC, revealed that there were 12,825,005 registered electricity customers nationwide. Among them, only 5,707,838 customers had functioning meters, leaving approximately 7,117,167 consumers without proper metering. Between January and September 2023, electricity distribution companies installed a total of 504,729 meters, according to the latest quarterly report from NEC. Now, this data highlights the ongoing challenge within the Nigeria's power sector, where a significant portion of registered users still lack essential meters for accurate consumption measures. They installed 175,281 meters in the first quarter, deployed 181,059 meters in the second quarter, while this dropped to 148,389 meters in the third quarter. Meter installations are ongoing in its current fourth quarter.